3, 2, 1. What is going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and here is today's comic, Department of Truth. This is the second time I'm doing this video. I did a whole pretty long video on this book, and the iPad didn't record it. Good thing I got an iPad Pro, not a cheapy one. I gotta tell you, I do not understand why Apple gets all the praise that it does, and people want to use Mac. Apple sucks. And this comes from a person many years in tech support and doing stuff. I got to tell you, Apple is so far removed. And you say, well, Ash, why do you even have an iPad? And I say to you, well, that's a very good question. I looked long and hard once upon a time when I first decided I was going to get a tablet. And Android tablets just are behind the curve. But mostly not necessarily in what they can do, but in entertainment value. What I want is a beautiful screen. And back in the day when I got on my first iPad, the Retina screen was the best you could get. And I want a media device. Well, that's what I use my tablet for. I don't use it for computing and doing any, I don't use it really, other than doing these videos, I don't use it for any sort of work. I use it to read comics, watch YouTube videos, watch movies, read books, surf the internet, go on Twitter. I want a media consumption device. I listen to music on it. That's what I want. And I want it something very simple, easy to use. And for all those purposes, it's fantastic. But as a production machine, I could. Anyways, you're here for Department of Truth. But I just spoke to you a little bit of truth. Let's see if we can get some of the magic back on this. Now, you can see this cover. The cover is pretty evocative of what this book is about. You got JFK on there, and, this is, a conspiracy type. If you're into that sort of stuff, even if you're not into it, like if you're just into that kind of fiction, right? Maybe X-Files. Do you remember watching X-Files? I really enjoyed X-Files. In particular, I really liked the ongoing narrative in X-Files regarding the smoking man. Do you remember him? And that sort of like, ooh, there's a conspiracy here. The Monster of the Week stories on X-Files are always the weakest to me, where it's like Scully and Mulder going off and like, oh, there's some crazy thing going on. What is it? And it's whatever. Those are fun and fine and whatever. But the whole the bigger story of the government knowing that there's aliens all along and there's this cover-up and all. That was what made X-Files really intriguing to me. So, fast forward to today, Department of Truth. I'm predisposed to like this kind of stories. Let's see what we have in store. This is by James Tynion IV. And I'm also predisposed to like James Tynion, disclaimer. Now, you can see real quick here from the art, which is by Martin Simmonds. I don't know who this is. You can see right away whether it's going to be your cup of tea. You don't need me to really review it. I will say, however, that while on the surface this art isn't really the most aesthetically pleasing to me, it did fit the tone and the style of this book. We start off with Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963, 7:55 p.m. I'd like some legal representation. These police officers have not allowed me any. I don't know what this is all about. Did you shoot the president? I work in that building. Were you in the building at the time? Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir. Did you shoot the president? They're taking me in because of the fact I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy. Did you shoot the president? So, right off the top, you take the date, 1963, November 22nd. This is the interrogation of Lee Harvey Oswald. And, he's at a table, a bunch of cops. And then all of a sudden, some men in black step in. We're going to need the room. Please just sort of look. That wasn't a request. Hit me in the Lee. I'm not the person that they think I am. I'm not this Lee. Nobody's listening. It's just us in this room. Huh? I didn't think it would really happen. None of that matters anymore. So all of a sudden, we're like, wait a second, what's going on? Who are these guys talking to Lee Harvey Oswald? And they introduce themselves. Well, they don't really introduce themselves. They sort of interrogate him, like, they ask him, what do you think happened? And he can't really remember. He's like kind of stumbling through. And then they kick over to chapter 1, the end of the world. Now, we cut over to this blonde-haired individual riding with this strong black woman, because black women are always strong. And blonde-haired dudes are always ineffectual beta males. At least in today's comics. In society, that's how we must constantly portray them in every form of media, so that society eventually slowly conforms to this vision. And I was a little disappointed to see James go down this road. I like James, like I said before. He was the reason, he's not the reason I got into comics, but when I did get back into comics, he was one of the first creators I discovered. He was writing my favorite book of the New Age of Heroes at DC, Immortal Men. I really like that book. I think James Tynion really knew what he was doing there. I think he would make a great X-Men writer. Immortal Men is better than any X-Men book I've read in 20 years. And it's, even though it's not X-Men, it's the same feel. It brings to you the same thing that X-Men did. Anyways, so we see this character whose name I totally forget because he's utterly forgettable, and he's riding in the car, and she says, "Are you going to throw up?" "No." "Maybe." "Don't throw up." "Okay." "Are you going to kill me too?" "Just don't throw up. The last car they gave me was shit. I like this car." "Okay." See what I mean? Immediately. Immediately. It just... Honestly, if I was in a car with a woman I thought was going to kill me, I'd kill her. But I wouldn't sit there and be like, oh, whimpering fool. But, you know, going into modern politics. And this is... I don't know why James did this. Well, I kind of know why, because we're in modern comics. But James has never had to do that before. In his other books. He's writing a good Batman story right now. I told you his Immortal Men. I've liked the stuff that he does. And he's never had to rely on that. He just tells good stories. And I'll tell you squarely here, this book is a pretty good story. But I'm just going to be real with you. This is my views. We're at the Library of Congress, present day. Shows up. Oh, get out of the car. And, you know, he's still whimpering. "Are you going to kill me?" And she takes him to this old man, who now interrogates him. "Tell me your name, kid." "Cole. I'm Cole." "Do you know why you're here?" It's my phone. I'm so professional on these videos. "I'm here because I saw something that can't possibly exist. And now I think you're going to kill me." "Ha! He's funny." "He's not joking." "I know. I didn't mean he was actually funny." I actually like the dialogue here. It's concise. It's not overly bloated like we get in, say, a Tom King or a Bendis book, where it's just like those two, they just cannot stop writing because they think the more words that they put in the script, it's like the more self-impressed they get. They're like, look at my words. I just put so many goddamn words in the book. James Tynion is very concise. He writes a script that just says what it needs to say. I appreciate it. "FBI?" "Yes, sir." "Quantico, you're a teacher." "I've done some field work." And see, here with this interrogation, we're learning about this blonde-haired guy. He's an FBI guy. He works at Quantico. No info dump. We don't need some sort of text boxes. Who's this guy? We're learning through the story, and it keeps you engaged. Now, it could keep you better engaged if the character wasn't unlikable. And for any male like myself that has testosterone flowing through their blood, you don't like actually seeing beta males. It's a very huge turnoff. This wouldn't be such a bad thing if this character wasn't the main character of the book. If he was just some sort of side character. I recognize that beta males exist. I recognize all the shades of humanity, the rainbow of flavors, if you will. I'm not opposed to having them in the books. That's fine. But your main character, the character that the readers are reading about, needs to be interesting. They need to have a reason to care about him. If I just go, he's a sniveling, wimpy dude, like, what? And so everyone around him kind of bullies him. And he's the FBI guy. So we hear this old guy's, and then there's the conspiracy stuff. So he's talking to him, and we find out that Blondie here he works for the FBI, dealing with conspiracy nuts. He investigates right-wing conspirators, because of course they're all right-wing conspirators. And then we get to this Flat Earth conference that because of his job, he ran into some people. And so he went undercover to this Flat Earth conference, which is like, okay, interesting. This book is all about conspiracies and basically like all the real world conspiracies that you've probably ever heard of. The world is flat, the moon landing, all this stuff are in this book, and it's dealing with that. And I like that. I don't believe the world is flat. I don't believe the moon landing was faked. But I think the conspiracies are fascinating. I'm very fascinated by the people who believe in those things and why. I definitely like hearing why they think those things. And some of the conspiracies have some things that have credence to them. The world is flat doesn't. The moon landing does have some interesting things. Not enough to make me believe it, but enough to be like, oh, that's kind of weird. So anyways, we get to the thing, and he's narrating, I remember walking into the hotel conference area and thinking that I had never seen so many polo shirts in my life. Your mailman, your accountant, the guy who scans your plane ticket at the airport, they were mostly, but not exclusively, men. Mostly, but not exclusively, white. And I got to that part and I was like, oh God, here it goes. You're writing a fantasy story about real world conspiracies. Why do you have to make it reflect your politics in this world? And he's talking about how scary it is because they look like your normal Joe. They could just be your mailman, your accountant. They all just wear polo shirts. They're all white males. And they're likable. You don't realize on the surface what crazy nut jobs they are. Like it's that sort of thing that the left pushes all the time. And being a person who's on the right, who's a white and a male, and I wear polo shirts, you say, oh, Ash, well, that's right there. You're just looking to be offended. I'm like, well, no. It's just not true. It's stupid. It's bigoted. It's short-sighted. And there's no point to put this in the story because this story is fiction. It's fantasy, as we're going to see. So he talks about how he went to the conference and he got approached by some people. He keeps getting approached by different people. You're Cole Turner? Yes. Special Agent Cole Turner? Yes. Why don't you come with me? I don't think I should. I'm married. I have a husband at home. Of course he does. Of course he's got a husband. Now, you say, oh, Ash, are you just homophobic? No. But this has no point for the story. And of course, it's just got to be, you'll see, like the comic has to just reflect, the good guys all have to have left-wing politics. All the bad guys are some sort of depictions of what the left likes to make conservatives. That's what this book is. And that's what turned me off. I was like, that's not needed. Mr. Turner. He came, marvelous. He came. Thank you, Sebastian. So they have this interview, and these two old guys are talking to him and explaining to him about their beliefs. And of course, he's there. He's intrigued because that's what he does. He investigates conspiracy people. And they have a story to tell him. They want to basically prove. They're going to show him. They're going to give him the keys to the castle. We're going to prove to you the earth is flat. And I'm like, ooh, cool. Where are we going with this? But before we get there, naturally, as a writing tool, we see that these guys are demons. Not literal demons, but figuratively. Look how they're portrayed here. And we get the writing makes sure to say, like, I remember thinking, how does a man worth $1 billion have such terrible breath? These guys just remind me of some sort of analogy to the Koch brothers, maybe, or something. Just evil old men. And that's established to you. The writer is basically telling you, these guys are bad. What they're going to do, what they're going to show you is all evil. Of course. The funny thing is, they're showing him the truth. It's weird. It's weird how the truth is bad. So we see about the moon landing. We see that there's, in this fiction, I'm not saying this is real, but in this story, there's a picture in the background. They have the secret tape. The moon landing, guy in the shadows, and all this stuff. And so they get him on an airplane, and they're flying him out, and they're going to show him. And he's kind of sleeping, dozing off, and he's like, Cole, you're missing it. You're at the end of everything, and you're missing the damn show. Look out your window and see what they've been hiding from us all these years. Oh, what? Where are? We're off the edge of the map, boy. Here, there be monsters. And again, one last glimpse, the artist showing symbolically these guys are the monsters. But this is a good page. Like, this is nice. At the end of the page, we don't know what's going to happen next. Oh God, what's going to be the reveal? Flip. Holy shit. The world is flat. What the nice reveal. In a conspiracy book, I'm like, holy, okay. Oh shit, Jesus, look it. And the old man, of course, with, his eyes red, some sort of red mist or something coming. Like, he's just demonic. Constantly reminding you, don't forget, he's bad. Yes, praise Jesus. I need to move. I need the bathroom. And then we see this red lady who was at the ball earlier when he was at the conference. I kind of glossed over for the story. And she's like, did you see? It's important that you see. She pulls off her glasses and she's got these X's. Fucking hell. And he's like terrified. And he goes and pukes. And he has his Matrix moment, right? He's just like, red pill, blah. And then they land at the end of the world. And they're all getting off. They're gonna, because it's more than the end of the world. I don't know if you saw, there's like a big tower wall thing, and he's just like, oh shit. And then there's a person standing there with a gun, and they're like, I'm sorry, but do you work for us? Does she look like she works for us, Birdie? Who sent you? Are you from Black Hat? Nope. But she just guns them all down. So it's crazy how these conspiracy nuts, who have billions of dollars apparently, just didn't bring any security. just that was a little weird. But for story's sake, I'm like, okay, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Who would go there that didn't believe the conspiracy, I guess? That kind of makes sense, right? So she guns them all down except for Blondie. And he's just like, oh my God, and he's Cole Turner. Yes. Special Agent Cole Turner. Yes. I'm here to take you home. And then this is all that interview, right? He's telling this whole story. That's all I know. You can kill me now. We're not gonna fucking kill you. Calm down. What do you think, Ruby? He's fine. Yeah? Yeah, he'll do. He's in shock, but he kept all the important details. I could use someone a bit more plugged into the moment, not another Cold War UFO hunter with a tinfoil hat. And his history, what he was part of in the 80s. What's happening? We're poaching you. You've been poached. No, you don't work for the FBI anymore. You work for us. I don't understand. And this is where the big kicker. Spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, about this book. This may be for you. Stop now. Go get the book. Read it. There's going to be some big reveals still to come. I haven't really done that yet. I think you'll enjoy this book. Like I said, the story is good. I'm kind of really focusing on the things that irked me as I was reading it. But you've been warned. Son, the world is round. Goes around the sun. Give me a big laser pointer and a few meter sticks and I can prove it to you. That's the truth. But that's not the truth because of science. What you saw there at the end of the world was a sliver of another kind of truth taking hold. You're saying it was a kind of tulpa space? When the fuck did the whole world go Buddhist? And so he goes on to basically, I'll save you, you can read the book yourself. The dialogue's pretty cool. But basically, the deal is this. Conspiracies are real because people believe them. The world is flat because enough people believe the world is flat, it's starting to manifest. And the whole reason that they're trying to stop this is because, when Ruby gunned down those people, he says basically, look, if they would have been allowed to prove this and bring it back to America and let the whole world see, that would have made the manifestation even more real. And they can't allow that. So they had to stop it. So essentially, what this book is telling us that reality is based on what humans believe. Okay, that's an interesting concept, except a big problem. The heroes of this book are controlling what humans believe. I, as a person, immediately have red flags and go, look, if our reality is going to be defined based on what we believe, then we should probably believe in something good and not what an authoritarian, hardcore, doesn't want it. An anti-Trump kind of regime, we can't have people believing other things than what we want them. So they're controlling. It's a thought police type of thing. It immediately is this doesn't ring right with me. It's an interesting story, and we get the reveal. He's like, who do you work for? What's the whole deal? And then you get this final page, and we see this. Work for the Department of Truth, hence the cover of the book. And who is the old man? My name is Lee Harvey Oswald. Welcome to the Department of Truth. And so you're like, dun, dun, dun. So the whole time. And yes, I think that's kind of neat. There's a lot of cool ideas here. I love fiction filling in the holes for history. I'm a big fan of not necessarily revised history, but where we have historical things, but we don't know all the answers, and then filling in those holes with fiction. We know the pyramids exist. We know some of the ideas of how they were built, but we don't know everything. So filling in those ideas, we've seen stories like aliens help them build, that's cool because history can't prove or disprove. We don't know, so let's write it. That's neat. This book does some of that stuff, and I think it's neat. But what I don't like is how it also interjects its real-world political viewpoints in the book, and it throws me out because I don't share those viewpoints. I find those viewpoints distasteful. And when I'm reading the book, if I'm reading things that are distasteful to me, it's not going to be enjoyable. It's like that movie Cuties on Netflix. I don't care how amazing that film might be. I've heard it's critically acclaimed. Oh, it's a beautiful film about... It could be the best film ever made, but the subject matter is so reprehensible to me, I don't care. It's not going to be enjoyable. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get across to you. This subject matter is not that reprehensible. It's not near like Cuties. I'm just using an extreme example so that you understand where I'm coming from. And I'm also being very forthcoming and transparent about my biases. You may not have those biases, but my viewpoints won't be as helpful to you if I try to cover it and hide it and do that sort of stuff. I'm not trying to tell you not to buy this book. I'm trying to inform you what this book is all about. I did enjoy it. I think Tynion had some good writing here. I think it's unfortunate that he could not keep his own personal viewpoints out of the book. It's not like a trash SJW book, but it is enough there where I was like, I have so many books that I'm budgeting to buy. This one's going to have to not make the team. Sorry. I would say this book is 3 stars out of 5, objectively. It's solid, does what it does. The art could be better. It also has room to go really cool. This is only one issue, so it could go off the cliff and go to complete trash, or it could soar and become something completely amazing, 6 issues down the road. I don't know where it's going to go. Hopefully I gave you enough information to make you decide if this is a book you want to check out and it should be for you. And if it is, let me know later what you think. Is this book good? Did you like it? Is it getting better? I like hearing all their viewpoints, even if I don't agree, and especially if I don't agree with them. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this video and hear my thoughts. It always amazes me that people give 2 shits about what I say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.